Where's the main disproof? Well, I'm so glad you asked. It was called the RESIST study. And the RESIST study was done recently. The problem with Bayesian inference is that recent things tend to not be quickly absorbed by people. There's often a inability to quickly understand and absorb new information. But here's the study. 251 patients with rheumatoid arthritis, same thing that started this whole mess. People with rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune disease. They take TNF-alpha inhibitors versus a standard old-style drug, and they did 18-month assessments. No significant changes was observed in either treatment group. No cognitive decline in participants being treated with TNF and DMARDs, no delta. And in fact, the DMARDs don't separate from placebo either. Prednisone, for example, is one such DMARD, but there are many others. Hydroxychloroquine, sulfasalazine, methotrexate's the main one. No separation. In fact, DMARDs were better than TNF in some cases. There's an even worse, there's so many other worse things here. Yeah, there are not too many biotech experts that want to talk about this stuff. You know, you've got the big funds, RTW, Baker Brothers, Perceptive. I think these are the kings of biotech, more or less. I mean, I'm sure there's others, and I hope I'm not insulting anybody by excluding them off the list. But these are three of the kings of biotech. They don't want to talk about their investments, and that makes sense as to why, right? I mean, they got to serve their clients, not you. Stands to reason. They're busy too, you know. They're making plenty of money doing their job, so you can't blame them. And they're not always right either, right? They're very good, but they're not always right. I want to show you, you know, like a tree of autoimmune nodes. These are not going to be labeled, but you can imagine them being labeled with TNF, with IL-6, with all kinds of things. And this is, you know, a little bit about how biology kind of works. You have this tree structure. I've been doing a lot of computer science lately, so I've been in tree structures, but you can call this a graph. And this is not exactly the way it works because you also have some overlap, like this node might be shared by two things, like P38 or something like that. And so we're going to make one of these nodes green for TNF-alpha. Okay, so this is TNF-alpha. And the other problem, there's so many logical flaws in the bull thesis here. It's just like embarrassing. But that's why the stock's a microcap stock that has no investors. But it takes a special kind of idiot to be bullish. So pretend this is autoimmunity and inflammation in the body. And this is TNF. And you say, the only way to stop Alzheimer's is by blockading this. We need to block this. This is the place where we need to inhibit. These are the nodes that matter. Forget the fact that these are all intersected. They actually don't look like this. In reality, all of these nodes kind of come together to form a very weird structure. But let's assume this is the case. Well, my first point here was that, well, prednisone covers all of these nodes, right? That's why it's kind of the master autoimmune drug. It covers everything. And the obvious reaction, look, I've been around biotech longer than almost anybody here. I mean, a handful of guys that I mentioned, even those three master funds, there's only 3 or 4 guys that are older than me at this point. Prednisone is not TNF. That's why it's the yellow and not the green. But it includes the green. But prednisone does not work. Okay, fine. What about this guy? Well, this guy includes the green, but it also includes some other things. Maybe this guy will work. Nope, that blue guy didn't work either. Well, all right, well, what about this guy? This guy's downstream of TNF. It's called COX-2. Let's just inhibit that. So we draw the blue box. The blue box didn't work. Okay, so a superset didn't work. A bigger superset didn't work. What about a subset? Let's do a subset. The subset, COX-2 inhibitors, that didn't work either. So the superset doesn't work. The subsets don't work. They even did one that's kind of like this. Like I said, this was sort of, to me, P38. This was steroids. This was COX-2. None of these improved Alzheimer's. So you want to tell me that it's this exact box of the nodes that we have to hit, even though these are massively redundant, they do the same thing, they're autocrine, they're sort of self-amplifying. No, it has to be the green box. If you do the yellow box, that's a problem. If you do the blue box, that's a problem. If you do the pink box, that's a problem. Purple box, that's a problem. It has to be the green box. You're starting to strain credulity here because if you look at the rest of the way medicine works, let's take rheumatoid arthritis for that matter, If you give a JAK inhibitor, this is just basic medicine. If you've been around the block, you know this stuff. If you give a JAK inhibitor, does it work in RA? Yes, it does. If you give a TNF alpha, this is the green, does it work in RA? Yes, it does. If you give a P38, no, it doesn't. That was a surprise when that happened. If you give steroids, yes, it does. COX-2, more or less, maybe that's in the middle, but more or less doesn't really work. You can kind of see, all right, well, sometimes it works. But here in Alzheimer's, you want to say, no, steroids don't work, P38 doesn't work, COX-2 doesn't work, JAK doesn't work, but it has to be TNF that works. How does that make sense? Where does that make sense? And of course, there's some preclinical studies that you can look at that you think maybe that makes sense. Those have flaws too. Those have massive flaws. There was a study done that showed the opposite. Somebody said, that Shkreli is that kid that said actually in school. Yeah, that's my job. My job is to figure out the actually you're wrong. I'm going to take your money. That is exactly what I do. Thank you. I don't want to take too much of a victory lap before Monday because data's not out yet, but here's why I went short. What do you mean? Are we invading Canada? Let's go. So there are a number of really amazing, I've read some of these papers, some fascinating results that take apart the preclinical, and then we can take apart the PK too. Look, drug development's hard. I don't fault anybody for getting it wrong. I've gotten my fair share of drug development wrong too. So this is a Spanish group that did this. There's a different form of this out. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, here they block TNFR2. They do some fairly interesting work here. So here they show that you have to block TNFR2 to rescue synaptosome integrity in mice. And this is the exact opposite of what the company wants to claim. That you must block TNF2 in certain places, that it's causing bad inflammation. The company claims that TNF2 is the hero in the story. But unfortunately, this data proves, or suggests at least, otherwise. So there's a lot of nitpicking here, but there's a couple of really fascinating supplementary data too. There's some that just made me go wild because they showed that TNF2 agonism does not reduce A-beta 42. And then the PK stuff is also pretty funny. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But it's I don't know if I have more diligence to do here. This is just. And Circle was a wild ride. A couple of us were shorted. I never shorted. I was too distracted with all kinds of things that I'm doing here. But Circle, we went long. We caught some of this, but we missed the most of the rocket ship. At least I did. Some of you guys maybe held on. It went from the deal price at 30 to 300. Now it's almost half of that, 180. Oh, I bought that dude's website. So what is he? He's been saying that INmune is a unicorn. Oh, this was a good pun. Flowers for Alzion, because there's a great book called Flowers for Algernon. So that's actually a fairly good pun. I'll give you that. Carl Kestens, that's his name. I mean, I don't know why this guy has real estate in my head because he's an amateur investor, but he was so certain that INmune, the unicorn in INmune, a good Alzheimer's drug, is worth far beyond $100 billion. Well, just to make sure he doesn't delete all of his stuff, I have purchased a website called carlkestens.com. It will be launching soon. We will make sure that forevermore we have Carl Kestens' great stock picks immortalized right here on this website. Just so we never forget, Oh, I've invited him on the show. I don't have a show, by the way, but I've invited him to chat. He's a little bit afraid. And I can be very imposing. You wouldn't want to cross me in a courtroom. I'm not going to say any character attacks. I'm just going to put what he wrote up, just so he can't delete it. I've asked him to come on 1,000,000 times. It's a Dunning-Kruger. The guy just started looking at bio. Same thing as Matt Nacktrab. This is my, I don't know, it's like a side hustle for me, just taking these guys' money, the Dunning-Kruger guys who show up. You've probably seen it at a poker table. A guy shows up, says, yeah, I know how to count my outs. I know how to bluff. I know a little game theory, optimal poker. Let me sit down with Phil Hellmuth. I got you. Why is my chip stack dropping? I can't believe it. It must be an error. Let me go upstairs and get more chips. Tray of chips. Cash me in, dealer. Dealer's looking at you like, bruh, maybe you want to take a seat, bruh. Go home. Come back tomorrow. I got this. Give me the cards. Two aces, huh? All in. 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗞𝗥𝗘𝗟𝗜'𝗦 like, okay, I know this guy has two aces. What can beat two aces? 7-8 diamonds. You know what? I call. He called! I'm 60-40 to win! Oh man, diamond. Ah, it's over. How'd you know? Do you have infrared vision? Did you look at my cards? Really, I mean, nobody likes to put it this way, but it'd be like me playing Kasparov. You know, I'm 1400. I've never studied chess. Even though I've taken classes from grandmasters, I just don't like to study chess. You know, the highest rating I've ever been was maybe 1600, and it's just not my thing. I like playing, you know. I've beaten some players at higher ratings, but yeah, I'm just not very good at chess. And if somebody says, Martin, I'm giving you an opportunity to play Garry Kasparov, I'd say, wonderful. I'd love to play Garry Kasparov. He's a hero. He's brilliant. And they say, there's just one problem, Martin. You got to pay to play Garry. So I'll make a donation to any charity he wants. I'll donate $5,000 to the Boys and Girls Club of Manhattan. All right? Sound good? And they say, Garry has a different idea in mind, Mr. Shkreli. So what's that? And he says, he wants to bet you $10 million in the outcome of the game. And they say, well, you know what? By God, I'll take it. And I go start reading books. I read My System. I read how to reassess your chess. I read all the Patzer books. I'm studying. I get up to 1900 on League Chess. I'm ready to beat Garry. I show up, I lose in 12 moves. I'm down a queen. I owe him $10 million. This is what you guys do daily, on a daily basis in the stock market. Stop it. There are Garry Kasparovs out there. The whole market's full of them. They get more capital than you. It's a very weird dynamic because they have so much capital, it really is bizarre. Unlike chess or any other binary game, you go to a chess tournament. I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but there's like the best ranked players sit on that far left table. I'm usually there. No, I'm usually somewhere over here. Yeah, I think this is like Swiss ranking or something like that. In every round, by the second or third round of the chess game, if you're 3-0, you're over here. And you play the other guy who's 3-0. The guys who are like 1-2 or 0-3, they're over here on table 19. So it looks like, okay, well, there's only 16 people here. Someone's going to win. I feel like I have a 1 in 16 chance. Stock market doesn't work that way. It's very pyramid driven. So here at the top is Citadel, Jane Street, Millennium, Point72. They have all the capital. Maybe it's an inverted pyramid. You're down here with your Robinhood account. And it takes 1 million of you, because there's only a couple of them. It takes 50 million Robinhood customers to challenge 5 hedge funds. And they will take your money. Not all the time, but usually the capital will flow from here to here. Jane Street made $20 billion last year. Citadel, whatever, 10 billion, et cetera, et cetera. Retail could have even made $1 billion because stocks are generally rising, or even $10 billion. But they underperformed the S&P. And they took way more risk. So when the market turns, they'll still make money. Jane Street makes money in any market, for example. It's a rigged game. I mean, basically, it's a rigged game. You're not going to win, especially if you're not doing 80 hours a day studying investments. I mean, it's as good as likely as me beating Hikaru. I haven't spent my whole day. I wouldn't even. Why do you want to be in the market? Normies shouldn't be in the market. Even index funds are bad, in my opinion. Just do it every year, Peter. You'll be rich. Trading is zero sum, in my opinion. In fact, I think trading is negative sum. You think the S&P 500 goes up over time. Why? Because it has gone up over time. The problem is that's not a good inference to make. Why? Because just because something has happened doesn't mean it'll keep happening. In fact, it could do that tomorrow. You don't know. You don't know, Sway. You have no clue. Second, we got a little thing that presses this down called inflation. And you also don't know what this inflation will be. So your real return looks something like that. And then we got another thing that presses this down called taxes. So if in the case you do win, you're going to take a little bit of that too. Real returns for the S&P are somewhere around 2% net of all this. And that's the best case scenario with the best managed country. Other countries, they cancel the currency. They cancel the stock market. You just have to be around a while. You get 10 nice years over here. This was the 60s to the 80s. 20 nice years of underperformance. The average person, listen, focus on the things that make you happy. You want to make a lot of money, find a trade, a business where you can make a lot of money. The stock market is one such business, but you better be dedicating your whole life to it. If you love the market and you love investing, look at chess. Okay, let's not pick on chess. Let's pick on backgammon. There are people who play backgammon as much as chess and poker. Why would you spend your life looking at some plastic cards or some wooden pieces or throwing a dice in a backgammon game? It's because you love it. You know, you have an admiration for the beauty of the game. You just, some people call it the chess bug. Kids get bitten by. You just want to play. I went to Hunter College High School. I used to play chess all day in the hallway. Not even go to class. I just play chess. It's fun. You know, if you love the market, you love stocks, you love the action, you love the businesses, you work on Wall Street, man. It's great. But you want to participate from home? Okay, it's doable. But you really got to get into it. You can't have some other job. This is your job, right? You want to be serious about it? I'm just a grandmaster on the weekends. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, you got 2 jobs. You got no time for investing. Can I beat Hikaru if he's down a queen? Jeez, I don't know. That whole down a queen business is kind of a different game at that point. Play Leela without a queen? That might be fun. Yeah, there's fewer grandmasters than billionaires. I like that. No, Theta, I don't like those words. I mean, every time this happens, like, again, we'll see on Monday, but every time this happens, it's like, bruh. I've literally, just been doing this 20 years. Like, I write my stuff up. There's lots of it online. Yeah, I think I'm a GM at investing. I don't know. You know who's a great GM at investing? Peter Thiel. That man's a beast. Stocks are a game, just like poker. Half the GMs I know, or IMs I know, they play poker. Game is a game. Can you be good at the game? That's it. I got a big position in Sarepta, and it's been a dog. So I don't know what to tell you. Well, I also hope the people at INmune tell the truth. I mean, there's a lot of risk here legally for them. And let me tell you something, you don't want that risk. Yeah, I don't think shorts can sue. I've looked into that. Oh, I love watching the accelerator oscillator or the awesome oscillator. Those are my favorites. Oh, nice. So if I zoom out, I get more data. Sweet. I like that. I need all these indicators. They're so important. Average price, true range, Bollinger. They got the Bolly bands? I need that. Elder's Force Index. That sounds elite. The Ichimoku Cloud? Bruh. MACD, net volume, on balance volume, parabolic SAR, price channel. I need all that. It's going to make me a great investor. Buffett looks at it. Buffett may not look at these indicators. Buffett looks at all these indicators, baby. I like how if you add all the garbage indicators to it, it's kind of like baggy pants. So if you go to Godel and you go on the bottom right, it says V4. And you can also go back to V3. And international is going to come soon. There's no lifetime subscription on Godel, but you can just get a subscription. 4 INMB is going to be 4 soon. How do I select the candle? Oh, here we go. 1 hour candles. That's high res. I want 1 hour candles on 5 year. Do 1 minute candles, it resets. How about 1 second candles? Maybe Monday. I've been waiting for this Godel release for months. These people ever work on Wall Street ever? For us, if you just hit N, you have this insane real-time news. Again, more than Bloomberg. I could show you side by sides. When I got the Islamic Republic of Iran direct news wire, I knew we were Gucci. Private companies. So we have an exclusive partnership with a very, very, very big company, one of the two exchanges, for private market data. So they have the prices for privates like OpenAI. Let me show you. You know what? Let me show you what I'm not supposed to show you. My own squad is going to delete it. Be like, no, Shkreli, you're not supposed to show that. That's our relationship. So I keeps it real. Here, this is from Vlad. Vlad said, don't show this to them. These are my people. I hang out with them on YouTube all day. So, Martin, our corporation's more important than your YouTube friends. So this is the day-by-day valuation of OpenAI, Perplexity, and Anthropic. Day by day. Who has this? Nobody but me. This will soon be on Godel. OpenAI is trading above deal price. OpenAI is at 325. OpenAI, see what you guys don't know, OpenAI, SpaceX, these stocks trade every day. Every day these stocks trade. They're more liquid than some of the stocks you guys trade. Yeah, we know OpenAI is going to, we know 𝗦𝗀𝗘𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏
got long wifey. OpenAI is going to 10 trillion. How about that? How you like me now? Yeah, I got Android charts for you too. Sign up to Godel now. We might just make markets in this. You want to buy some OpenAI? Come to Shkreli, baby. I got you. You want to buy some SpaceX, some Stripe? Yeah, I might be able to facilitate. Listen, this is our trade. You know, this is our internal data. All right, buddy. This is our internal. This is Vlad's internal development studio. All right. Don't worry about that. It'll be on Godel like every other. Like you'll be able to see the chart of OpenAI just like you can see the chart of any other stock. It's going to go into trading views charts. Nobody's got that. And you can do NI OpenAI. Let's say you own $100 million of OpenAI stock. You could just have your own OpenAI tape right here. It's not going to be as active as Google or NVIDIA. The news is hilarious. I love reading the news on stream. So you can see here, there looks like there's news on OpenAI a couple times an hour. So if you want to do Anduril, you can do that too. And you get news every few hours, it looks like, on Anduril. Shout out to Anduril. So pretty good for private company research because, you know, and Bloomberg is too, you know, they're fine. Just if you can afford it and if you get invited, those guys are really not really friendly about bringing new people onto their platform. But yeah, a lot of good stuff happening here at Godel. So this release has been a real albatross. So what do you guys think the probability of success for INmune is? If they met their primary endpoint, okay, I will name my son INmune Shkreli. Yeah, I'm not sure Perplexity is going to succeed going after Bloomberg, but we'll see. I wish them luck. INmune Shkreli, 2 months from now. I'm betting his gender. Yes, I talked to wifey about it yesterday. Did I get her approval? No. That's my baby. No. INmune, middle name, bio, Shkreli. Kid named D-Wave. If D-Wave comes up with the first quantum computer, change his name to D-Wave. Kids will just call him D. What up, D? Hey, what up?